Well, hello, all you surfers out there. We have another shift, another energy shift. This is going to be energy shift number 5, episode 5. And I hope you're not getting the idea that every single energy shift is chaotic or something, because this week we have quite the opposite. Well, not this week. We have about a window of about 3 days from March 19th to March 22nd. It's the Vernal Equinox. Yin meets Yang. It's a very balanced period and a very special surprise for you in today's episode, so stick with me. We are on our ES5 playbook, Energy Shift 5, Episode 5, and this kick starts with the vernal equinox. That's when the sun goes into Aries on 3/19, March 19th, 2024 at 10:06 p.m., and that's Central Daylight Time. But the energy that we're going to talk about today and how that is expected to feel, because not every vernal equinox feels the same. Yeah, there's some similarities there, obviously, when the sun goes into Aries, but there's other things happening. So what else is happening, and what's the overall picture of the energy? What's the snapshot there? And that energy, I'm telling you, is it'll last about 3 days, and then something else will take over, which will be an ES6. All right. So we obviously have the chart here that we're going to be talking about in depth, but here's the overview of the influences. So we have the sun crossing the celestial equator, which is just a projection of the Earth's equator out in, infinitely. So when the sun crosses over that, that's where Aries starts, and it signals the start of, or official start of, the spring season. And that happens every year at approximately this time. This is a little bit early in the window. Normally we're looking at the 20th, 21st of March, but it varies from year to year. And what else do we have? Energetically, the next biggest influence is going to be the moon. And so we have a waxing gibbous Leo moon during that time. And we have Venus and Saturn. That's the special here. Doesn't occur all that often. And those are not just conjunct, but they're also parallel together. So the inclination is the same, which means that the conjunction is actually extremely intense. And that one's interesting because people want to talk about, like the negativity of Saturn, but there's an equal and opposite positivity in Venus. And we'll look at that. The part of fortune is also there at the time that the sun enters Aries. So at this vernal equinox, the part of fortune is right there in that conjunction. So that's pretty cool. It signals there's a spotlight there. So overall, just the big picture, we have the yin equals yang. We have the daylight equals the darkness. This is what spring equinox is the daylight and darkness equals the amount of time throughout the day. We also have in the backdrop, fire signs equals the number of water signs. And then the window ends on that 22nd, which I mentioned before. That's when Mars enters Pisces and sort of another shift happens. And we'll talk about that in ES6. But for now, let's look visually at what's happening here. Now, I first want to show you this Venus parallel Saturn, and that brings an intensity. And both of them are in Pisces. And they're within 2 degrees orb of each other. There's not a whole lot of squares. So there's like an absence of squares and oppositions, if you will. So just a fleeting one with the moon and Pluto. And so compared to a lot of the energies we've seen up to this point, have a lot of contentious energy, a lot of pressure. There just isn't a lot here. And in the backdrop, we have a a balance. Fire and water are balanced at 3, and then earth and air, which arguably are sort of opposites, earth and air, and those are balanced. So there's balance right there. And then as we delineate some of the Venus and Saturn, which we're going to do here after we get done with just the overall vernal equinox, you're going to see some yin and yang in that. So the whole context here signals like a feel of balance, and that's what we have. So I put here on as the sun goes into 0 degrees Aries, we have emergence. We have yin meets yang. So the light and the darkness stand equal at the threshold between seasons. Something stirs deep within, and that's kind of the seedling that's sprouting, right? And that signals sort of a spring as well. There's a tension, but it's a subtle shift, tension where the opposites meet, but neither one is dominating the other, right? And so when we have that melding of yin and yang, good things happen. Growth happens. Growth of the soul, calling of the light. So just for purposes of the spring equinox, people, just at the merit of the sun going into Aries, people are going to feel a refreshed sense of optimism and hope for new beginnings, because that's what this is as well. It's a new astrological year being started with this, because Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. So we're starting fresh. So we also have an extra energy, maybe some motivation. I mean, just sun going into Aries is energetic, motivation to start new projects. There's a newness feel to it, a feeling maybe a more social for some of you, open to spending time with others for some of you, a desire to spend more time outside, enjoying nature's renewal. I mean, this is big time, a transition in weather as well, going from cold to warm. This is right in the middle, temperate, modest weathers. Creativity and artistic passions feel ignited. There's a greater clarity and conscious decision making right here. Time of emergence, especially of what has passed, in a sense of spinning and rotating towards the future. So that's what we have here, and then we're going to delineate and include all of these planets together into one energetic footprint. And here's the concept. First of all, like a lot of balance here. Finally, we have the yin and the yang of equal proportions, and from that we have growth. So, but there's more than that. Remember, we've got the Venus and Saturn. So polarities spawn new growth. Humanity is afforded a great deal of balance between several cosmic polarities. For the moment, yin and yang conspire together in equal amounts to grow new spiritual and material phenomenon, and a seasonal shift is underway. During this event, the part of fortune, I didn't mention that. Let's look at the part of fortune real quick. So the part of fortune moves fairly quickly in relation to the zodiac each day. It's just a point in the sky. It's the difference between where the sun's position is and the moon position, because the moon travels so fast, then that difference changes quickly. And so it is important only in the context of at a very specific moment in time. And then in this case, it's the sun at 0 degrees Aries. Just the part of fortune happens to be shining a light on this Venus and Saturn. So it makes it extra special. So not only do you have Venus exalted or strengthened in Pisces, we have a part of fortune that's kind of hyper focusing on that. And then you have the intensification of the parallel. So the part of fortune shines a big focus on Venus and Saturn, And those two is another type of polarity. We have love, Venus, and fear, Saturn. Love and fear, some people say, would be the opposites. What about pleasure, Venus, and pain, Saturn? Indulgence and restraint. And we can go on, but these two are a lot of the opposites. So out of the spiritually and emotionally rich Piscean depths comes sharper relational skills. So now we're melding with an intensification, Venus and Saturn together. One is not more dominant than the other, although you could argue that Venus in this case, exalted, would be more dominant. But we're going to go with just equal amounts and intensified. So what we have, sharper relational skills, more serious artistic creativity, intensified and efficient negotiations, responsible but fun parties, and even pleasure in self. That's supposed to be discipline, self-discipline, or even indulging in adversity. So you got the melding of both. It could be restrained love or tough love, I think, is a good archetype for this connection, this intensification of Venus and Saturn. Tough love. Although there are growing pains in this transit, energies are very balanced and help magnify the new growth appearing. Even the water and the fire influences are equal, as we saw together in that backdrop. The waxing gibbous Leo moon helps the fire energy to feel strong and confident. That's the yang. While the deep emotional waters of Pisces enrich us with connectedness, compassion, and spiritual nutrition, which is the yin. So in many, many different ways, the yin actually indeed meets the yang at equal amounts. And so in our yin yang meter, which we just started in the last episode, obviously we're going to be looking right down the middle of this. Neither one is dominant. They're both there. And hopefully you will feel this sense of balance. You'll see others unusually well balanced, maybe some people who tend to be out of balance. These are more of the creative people in the world. That's according to psychologist from Czechoslovakia named Csikszentmihalyi. I'm probably saying that awfully, but he postulated that creative people tend to bounce back and forth, and they're always off balance, basically. But in the sense of, I guess the only balance there is that they can balance the extremes really well. So they're at sometimes totally yin, other times totally yang, and never really kind of a mesh of both. But in this case, we're going to be seeing the yin and the yang together. You see it in multiple factors around the zodiac and all the different energies. So cosmically, I think this is going to be a very special vernal equinox. I think you're all going to love this energy, and I'm looking forward to it. After this, it still doesn't get very chaotic, so you can probably expect ES6 to look some more pleasant energies. How about that? Not focused on the balance, though. It'll be something else. All right. Well, that's all I have for today, and I hope you all put this on your calendar and can use this. And we do have that eclipse coming up as well. We have a lunar eclipse first this time around, and then we get to that total solar eclipse that everybody's looking at in April. So that we actually have a period of energetic window that precedes that. And then we'll get into probably ES7 will be the actual eclipse. All right. Good stuff. Good stuff. Great energies. Hope you guys are surfing it like pros. And we'll see you in the next episode. Thanks, everybody.